Alright, in this video we're just gonna be making it on the fly, but it's going to be a sector control. Now I've already placed a few things, just the tower, my player, and a trigger called sector zone. Now the way we're gonna set it up is when a blue 4 unit enters inside of the trigger here, it's going to increment the score by however many units there are minus the amount of op 4 units in here. So let's say we have 2 blue 4 units inside of this trigger and 1 op 4. We're going to increment the blue 4 score by 1. Now let's say 1 blue 4 unit gets killed, so it's 1 op 4 and 1 blue 4 unit in here. Then the score is going to stay the same until, let's say that op 4 unit kills the blue 4 unit, so there's only 1 op 4 and no blue 4. Then it's going to increment the op 4 unit by 1. And if another op 4 comes up, so there's 2 op 4 units in the trigger, it's going to increment it by 2, then 3, and so on. So kind of like, it's pretty much kind of like King of the Hill. However, I'm not really familiar with how the scoring works, as I don't really like that kind of mission. Anyhow, as stated, the only thing started right now is this tower, the trigger called sector zone, and I've also added 2 little add actions so I can spawn an op 4 and a blue 4 unit on my player position, so just for testing. The main command we're going to be using is just an area array. So we're going to use that. As you can see the example here, since we're using AI as our testing purposes, we're going to be using all units instead of all players, as I will get into here shortly. So in our init server, we already know we're going to need, obviously, the scores, so just name a variable called blue 4 score, set it to 0, same thing for op 4. Now I want to separate this over a few different files, so
sound muted.
Let's go ahead and make, and we'll just call it tally units in zone. I want to have another one to handle the scoring, so we're just going to call it handle score. And yeah, as of right now, that's going to be it. So first thing we're going to want to do is execute the tally units command, script. So execvm tally units in zone. Now in here we're going to want to continually have a loop that is going to be running until the mission end. However, since we're not really going to make a mission end, however, we're just going to set it to true. So we're going to run our loop while true do and we're going to go ahead and just have it so it refreshes every second. So here's where the in area array comes in. All unit zone count, I don't know, equals all units in area array. Then the name of our trigger, which was sector zone. Dang it. So we're also going to want to make a little counter, so blue 4 units equals 0, op 4 units equals 0. Okay, now we're going to want to use for each, so to go through the array, so for each units zone count. Okay, now we want to determine if the unit is blue 4, we're going to tally this up. If the unit is op 4, we're going to tally this up. So if, no, side X, actually we can just do a switch since it's only 2. Switch side X do case west east So if it's west, blue 4 units equals blue 4 units plus 1. Up 4, yada yada yada. Okay, so now when this runs, it's going to get all the units inside that array. If the unit is a blue 4, it's going to tally blue 4 up. If it's op 4, he's going to tally op 4 up. However, on the next time this runs, it's going to continually count blue 4 units and op 4 units. It's pretty much going to continually, instead of if there's one blue 4 unit in the zone, when it first runs, it's going to set blue 4 to 1. And if that same unit is still in the zone, it's going to add it up again. So it's going to go to 2, then 3, then 4, then so on. So we need to reset this after each run. So just put it up there at the top of your loop. Okay, now I guess for testing's sake, we can go ahead and use system chat to kind of count. So system chat format blue 4 op 4 we're just going to be outputting the amount of units. Now keep in mind this entire little mode here is going to be ran only on the server. Nothing is going to have to be done client side as you want. So client performance should be a-okay, especially considering there's literally hardly anything going on in it anyhow. Alright, so I guess let's just go ahead and test that real quick. Yeah, that's it to run. System chat at the bottom left, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, missed it, 1. Alright, so let's spawn another blue 4, should be up to 2. Spawn an op 4, up to 1, up to 2, up to 3, 4, and as they leave, it just keeps going down. Welcome to Arma. Alright, so we know that it's tallying them properly now. So since that's just in system chat, we can leave that there. So now that we have this information, I guess we can just pass it off to handle score. And, well, it'll just handle score. Literally. So, things we want to pass in is op 4 and blue 4, pretty much the count of them that are going to be inside of the zone. So, if you remember in the other video, by chance, how we pass in arguments, just pass them in your square brackets. So we're going to be passing in blue 4 units, op 4 units. Even though I go over it in literally every video, when you're passing stuff to a separate script like this, or a function, or an event handler or something, you use this to select pretty much the script itself. Think of it that way, and since you passed in 2 variables to it, you use the select command, so this script itself is holding an array, and if you use the select command to select an item out of that array. So this script is holding blue 4 units in the first slot of the array and op 4 units in the second slot of the array. So that's one way to look at it to make it a little bit simpler. Anyways, that's how you select it. So whatever values we passed in, they're now held in these 2 variables thanks to select 0 and select 1. Okay, so we have our little count here. So now we can literally just do a little bit of if else. So if actually, no, we're going to use just 2 if statements, actually, no else. Because it should technically give us the same, yeah, it should give us the same result. So if blue 4 count is greater than op 4 count, then Now we want to have it the other way. Is less than. Okay, so remember I said if we have, let's say we have 3 blue 4 units inside the capture zone, and we have 1 op 4 unit inside the capture zone, we want the blue 4 score to go up by 2. So it's going to be the amount of blue 4 units minus the amount of op 4 units, and vice versa. So score increase equals blue 4 count minus op 4 count. Do the same thing, just opposite. Whoops, I'm pressing insert. Yep. Alright, now that we have that, I guess we can, instead of making another script, we can literally just have a function. We'll just go ahead and make it global since it's only on the server anyhow. No one else is going to be able to really access it, so we'll call it, I guess, set score. Set score function equals. So now we're going to want to pass in, we're going to want to call this function and pass in the score increase, as well as, we're going to want to pass in the side as well, so we know whether or not to increase blue 4 or op 4 using another switch command, just like we did here. Actually, it's pretty much the exact same thing. So we're going to have our arguments. So we want to pass in, since this is going to increase the blue 4 side, we're just going to add in score increase and west. Same thing here, score increase and east for op 4. Since there's more op 4 units in this side, well, if there are, well, yeah. Alright, so we're here now. Let's make another variable. Let's see. Score, we'll just name it the same thing. Score increase equals this select 0. Side equals this select 1. So have another switch side, not that. Do case west, case east. Okay, so when it's, I want to increment the west, blue 4 score equals blue 4 score plus score increase. Op 4 score equals op 4 score plus score increase. I guess let's go ahead and hint out the scores as well. We can just copy this, except we're going to use it in a hint, not system chat. Okay, let's see if it works, and then I'll go through and just do a quick explanation again. Alright, blue 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It keeps increasing, so let's figure out why that is. But when I do step out of it, it does go down. And op 4, spawn op 4. There's one op 4 unit in here. And of course you're going to walk down. Okay, but when there's one blue 4 unit and one op 4 unit like so, the score does not change. The score does not change. Alright, so it just keeps incrementing. So let's figure this out. And I'm retarded, that's the point of this. Never mind, I'm stupid. So that's what we actually wanted it to do. So now it's incrementing by 1 every second. So when we spawn another blue 4 unit, it should increment by 2. 28, 30, 32, 30, and you leave. So now there's 2 op 4 units. It's going to slowly increase by 1, and now it's back to nothing, and now it's back to increasing my side again. So this is pretty much how you're going to have this set up. And if you want to make it so it doesn't increment so fast, literally we can actually just make a separate variable here for this exactly. Set score timer equals, we'll just set it to 5. So just literally change the sleep command. So now every 5 seconds, alright, we're getting 1 point every 5 seconds. Let's spawn in. So we have 4 of us, now it goes up to 6. And they all leave me. Now we have 2 op 4, please don't go down. So it should increment them by 1. Now alright, well you get the point. Anyhow, so what this is doing is, remember, nothing on the client except for just the add actions to spawn the units for testing. And one thing I mentioned that I wanted to go over was in this here. So since we're using AI to test, we're using all units, because if we used all players, it's not going to work just because it gets all the players. So this is multiplayer, just set it to all players. It's literally doing the exact same thing, but for some reason, some AI manages to get into the zone, it's not going to count it. So now as you can see, when I walk into the zone, works fine as normal. Sets it to 1. I want to spawn 2 op 4. Now it should set them to 1, but it doesn't because it's not counting the AI. Alright, so how this is working is we're just making 2 variables for score on each side. We're executing the tally units in zone, which is going to pretty much be our kind of like our game loop. So we're going to go ahead and set the amount of units that we want for each side. Just go ahead and set them to 0 and have a variable for them to be pretty much altered by. Then our loop. So when the loop runs, it's going to set the amount of units that are in the zone to 0. And then it's going to count the amount of blue 4 units, well, the amount of units inside of, well, it's not necessarily going to count it in this, but it's going to get all the units and store them inside an array. So we have my name, my profile name being Cody. It's going to store me in that array. We have John in another one. It's going to store him in the array. So let's go down to here. We're going to have a for each command, which runs on every single, pretty much every element inside of that array. So it's going to run on Cody and John. Let's say I'm blue 4 and he is op 4. So then it's going to test a little switch. So x being our magic variable, which is pretty much used as a pointer to point to the element in the array. So since I'm first, it's going to side x is equal to me, and since I'm blue 4, it's going to run inside of case west, since west is blue 4. So it's going to increment blue 4 units by 1. And since John is east, when this runs the second time for the second element, which is the element he is in, it is going to run what is in case east for op 4. And it's going to increment op 4 units by 1. So now we're going to go down to here. We're going to run handle score.sqf, and we're going to pass in those 2 numbers. So we're going to have how many blue 4 units are in there in the area, as well as how many op 4 units are in it. And those values are getting sent to handle score. And they are kept up here, since this select 0 is equal to however many blue 4 units was equal to, and the select 1 being equal to however many units op 4 units was equal to. Well, the value of that in the previous script. So now we're going to have just a simple 2 if statements. So if blue 4 count is greater than op 4 count, then we want it to make a variable to pass into the function that actually sets the score. So since we want it to increment by however many units are inside of the zone minus the other units inside the zone, if there are even any, that's how we're pretty much going to just get this. So since there's going to, in this case, it's going to be 1 blue 4 and 1 op 4, me and John inside the zone, it's not going to run either of these. It's because, well, they're equal. So it can only run if it is greater than, or if blue 4 is less than. I mean, if blue 4 is less than and blue 4 is greater than. So let's say John gets killed and I'm the only blue unit inside of that zone, and since I'm a blue 4 unit, it's going to run this. Since there's one of me and no op 4, it's going to do just blue 4 count being 1 minus op 4 count being 0. Then it's going to pass that number into the sket score function as well as the side of pretty much the leading, well, side. Whoever has more units inside the zone is going to pass that side into. So we go to our function here, just like before with the select command, same exact thing as passing it to a script. So we're going to have a little switch. So if side is equal to west, meaning blue 4 that we passed into here, we're going to increment blue 4 by however much the score increase was. So however many blue 4 units minus the op 4 units that are in the zone. So if there's 3 blue 4 units in the zone and 1 op 4 unit, it's going to increment the blue 4 score by 2. If there's 5 blue 4 units in there and there's 2 op 4 units in there, it's going to increment the blue 4 score by 3. It's literally just that. And vice versa, same goes for op 4. So, surprisingly, I actually didn't have any issues with this. I was kind of hoping to have some to work out for the video to kind of go through testing and figuring out what the errors or issues are coming from, but that didn't happen. That's fair. Alright. Anyhow, that's how you make a sector control, and you can pretty much change this to be and work however you like. Oh, right, I mentioned a setting an end game. So one way to do that, we literally have a simple test. So once we set the score, we can actually call another function to test end game. So test end game equals we'll just pass in actually we don't need to pass in anything, so just call test end game, and if blue 4 score is greater than or equal to, just make another variable, and game score equals, I don't know, 5. Is greater than or equal to 5, well, end game score, or these two vertical lines being the or command, these two and signs being the and command, or op 4 score greater than or equal to end game score, then we can simply have our little end game. So Arma 3 mission and wiki. See if something here it is. By the way, random note, you can tell if the command is local or global by literally that little icon up there. So we can call it end game. Really just gonna copy that. So once the score equals 5, it should end the game. Unless somehow here comes the error part. So score, oh, it's gonna take a while, it's every 5 seconds. And let's put another. Oh yeah, that's right, I said it's all players, not units. 3. 4 and end. But as you can see, it technically hasn't really ended the game, it's just running that little cutscene. pretty much that's how you would set that up. And since for this is obviously a server, use this. But just for the single player example, I don't know, this might work in single player testing, but I'm not sure. It's literally the exact same way. But you can set it to see kinda U1 to the player with the largest score. So side score to the side with the largest score. So this is going to be something you'd actually have to define in the description.ext. So if you wanted to kind of go through and make it a little bit different, you could also make it so it only works for one side using a simple if-else. Actually, not an if-else, literally just another if. So, if that, but out4 score, then it's going to call, just change the end mission to display whichever side you want to see. Whichever side won, just have it set U1 to them, and you lost to the other side. You can do that with remote execution, and I already have a video on that. So if you want to learn how to do that, just watch that video and learn how to use these commands. Well, the end mission commands. They're relatively simple. Anyways, that's all for this one. Adios.